Have you ever noticed that thinkers argue and disagree a lot?
No.
Especially the masculine thinkers?
No.
Even more so when they're lead thinkers?
Oh.
You're aware you're doing it right now, right?
Oh.
Oh, for sake!
Thinkers have the nasty tendency to argue and disagree compulsively. Often, they don't even realize they're doing it. They think they have a good reason for why they're arguing. This idiot is wrong, I am right, I know the truth, I'm just trying to help. They rationalize their reasons for arguing while not realizing that rationalizing is the farthest away from actually being rational. They don't actually know why they're arguing, and they conceal their truth from others and from themselves by claiming it's for the greater good in some form or another. It's not. It doesn't help. It doesn't solve any problems. It only creates drama. It's annoying. And even the thinker inciting the drama feels gross afterwards.
If you're a thinker who ever argued and incited drama, then this video is definitely for you. No, but we really made this video for our past selves. We both have masculine thinking as our lead function, and we both created more drama because of it than we would like to admit. And as some of you might have noticed, we sometimes still do. But as soon as you realize that winning arguments and being right isn't as important as your mind makes it up to be, you'll see that there is a way out of the drama.
Of course, not all thinking is bad. There are real problems that need to be solved that require you to painstakingly figure out what works and what doesn't, what's true and what isn't. For example, I work as a data engineer for the New Zealand Statistics Agency. If I create a new process that represents a real improvement on an old one, my fellow data analysts are happy and grateful for that. And yes, you can assume that creating something better involves having arguments along the way. In the end, whether your thinking activities are good or bad, helpful or annoying, depends on your internal state. Yes, the quality of your thinking depends highly on your emotions. It depends on the why behind the argument. If it comes from a calm, resolved place, a state of non-need, it can be incredibly beneficial for yourself and the people around you. However, if your arguing is rooted in emotional negativity, if you're in a state of need, if you're fucked off, it can be super destructive for your relationships. Your emotions are a signal to be taken seriously. You need to acknowledge them and own them. You ignore them at your own peril. But there are better and worse, constructive and destructive ways to deal with them.
So why is compulsive arguing a way to cope with your feelings? Because it allows you to feel them. It's an unconscious mechanism that brings the feelings up to the surface. When you argue needlessly with someone, you annoy them, you make them mad, you also make yourself mad. That's the reason why you're arguing, to make yourself and others angry because something happened that created the need for you to feel angry. This need can only be ignored for so long. Eventually, it hijacks the thinking function that is your savior to create the drama that you crave, even if you don't consciously know it. My TE version of that is more active and oriented towards others. I criticize and I pick at them, letting them know what they're doing wrong according to me. That criticism is disguised as helpful feedback while it is rooted in inner frustration. There's some personal need that I neglected to meet, and I'm letting that frustration out at the other person.
My TI version of that is more passive. Passive but immovable. It comes out as blind disagreement, nitpicking, or needing to one-up the other person. I don't feel the connection I desire, and unconsciously I'm thinking that proving I'm better or smarter will get me that connection. So how do you stop doing that? Emotional awareness is key. You need to be mindful of your inner state and consciously know what you're feeling. We already said it earlier, but your feelings are an indication of something serious. You need to take care of them. You might simply feel a loss of connection or be lonely. Or you might be deviating too far from your own moral compass. Next, you also need to be aware of your default tendencies. Know your patterns and see what's coming next. This awareness is the first step to changing your behavior. Once you understand the pattern, and it will take a few rounds around the carousel, you will find more constructive and mature ways to fulfill your legitimate needs. Because if you don't want to feel lonely anymore, making yourself feel superior is not the right way to get there.
If you want to live aligned with your personal values, picking at others is not the right way to get there. Connecting with others and meeting your emotional needs is a skill that needs to be cultivated. It sounds simple in principle, but it's not easy and it does take time. So, if you feel like you're lacking this department, you better stop arguing and start working on your emotional competency.
A key factor in your emotional life is the ability to be vulnerable. according to social psychologist Brené Brown. Had we never learned to be genuinely vulnerable, we would have never understood the other's perspective, let alone overcome our differences. But what it means to be vulnerable is often misunderstood because it's a very nuanced act. Being vulnerable is different from dumping your trauma on someone else. Showing vulnerability is an act of courage. It involves taking a risk. If there's no uncertainty about the outcome, if you're trying to stack the deck in your favor, you're not actually being vulnerable.
Ultimately, vulnerability is a gift that you give someone you care for. It's about opening up and expressing your feelings, what you're insecure about, or maybe even ashamed of. You allow someone to see you more fully. Blame and accusations have no place there. It's scary and it's uncomfortable, but there's no way around it if you want to have deep and healthy relationships. Thinkers need to learn that there can be more positivity on the other side of a difficult conversation if you know how to do it right. There is so much more to say here, but we will leave that for a future video. See you there.